First story. I neglected my younger son, stayed silent when his girlfriend cheated, and let him raise his girlfriend's affair baby. Then my golden older son refused to have his own child, and the younger son went NC. Years later, he got his new girlfriend pregnant, so I told my younger son he had had his time sulking and demanded he involve me in his child's life. Now both ungrateful sons have abandoned me. I'm going to say this straight. I know my son doesn't speak to me anymore, and I know some people are already going to jump on me without reading the full story. I'm not looking for pity. I want to explain my side and find out if I really crossed a line, or if everyone's just tiptoeing around Ryan like they always do. My son, Ryan 27M, cut me off completely a little over a year ago. It's not something I ever expected. We were close when he was growing up, even more so after his dad, and I split when he was 14. He stayed with me, and I helped him through a lot. He was a quiet kid, a little sensitive, always overthinking things, but he had a good heart. The falling out happened because of his ex-girlfriend, who cheated on him. I didn't like her from the beginning. She had this habit of twisting stories and making herself out to be the victim, even when she was in the wrong. She got pregnant during their relationship, and I remember thinking something felt off, but I kept it to myself. One day, maybe halfway through her pregnancy, she came to me crying. She told me she cheated on Ryan early in the relationship and wasn't sure if the baby was his. She said she was scared he'd leave her if he found out. I was shocked, obviously, but I told her straight up to tell him. She nodded like she would, but that was it. I didn't push because, honestly, I didn't want to get dragged into their relationship mess. I also thought maybe she'd come clean before the baby arrived. After the baby was born, Ryan looked happy. He was tired but proud, constantly texting me pictures, always holding the baby. I assumed she had told him, and he chose to forgive her. Looking back, I should have asked. I should have said something. But at the time, I didn't want to be the one to light that fire. And I've been burned before for interfering, especially with Evan, my older son 33M. Years ago, he blamed me for ruining one of his relationships just for speaking my mind about a woman who was lying to him. So I learned to step back. Anyway, months go by. Ryan is raising that baby like it's his. Buying nappies, losing sleep, planning for the future. Then everything falls apart. I didn't get the details until much later, but he found out the baby wasn't his. A DNA test confirmed it. Apparently she only admitted it when things got really bad between them. Then he found out I knew she had doubts during the pregnancy, and that was it. He came to my house one evening and asked a single question. "You knew?" I didn't lie. I told him she had confessed to me months earlier, and that I had assumed he already knew. He just stood there, staring at me, like he was trying to process it. After a long moment, he said quietly, "You watched me fall apart," and said nothing, then turned around and walked out. Since then, nothing. He blocked me everywhere. Wouldn't take calls. Wouldn't even look at me when we ended up at the same family event months later. At that point, the family decided it was easier to keep us apart. If Ryan was invited somewhere, I'd come early and leave before he got there, or vice versa. I tried reaching out more than once. Called, wrote letters, and even tried to talk to his girlfriend when I saw her from a distance once. He wants no part of me. Then I found out she's pregnant, and yes, I heard it through Evan's wife, not from Ryan himself. That stung. I'm not some monster. I want to know my grandchild. I want to fix things. I've told Evan this over and over. I just want 5 minutes of real conversation with him, even if it's hard. Last weekend, Evan's stepson turned 11. Sweet boy. He and Evan's wife got married recently, and Noah's taken to calling us his grandparents already. They decided to throw a small party, mostly family, and a few of his school friends. Evan called me ahead of time and told me Ryan and his girlfriend were probably going to come. But if I came earlier and left before they arrived, everything should go smoothly. I agreed. I didn't want drama at a child's birthday party. I got there at 1, stayed a few hours, gave Noah his gift, and helped set up some decorations. Evan's wife even thanked me for coming early. Around 4, I left like we'd agreed. I drove to a cafe, got myself something to drink, and then just sat in the parking lot for a while. It hit me harder than I expected. I'd just spent time at a family event without my own son. My heart felt heavy the entire time. Everyone was smiling, talking, and playing with the kids, and I'm watching from the sidelines of my own family. All I kept thinking about was how Ryan used to run around at that age, how he loved toy dinosaurs, and how excited he got when we used to let him pick his own birthday cake. And now, I don't even know if he's going to let me meet his baby. I called Evan. I told him how I was feeling and asked, maybe foolishly, if there was a chance I could come back. Not to make a scene, not to confront anyone, just to maybe say a few words to Ryan if he was open to it. Or at least be there again for Noah, who was clearly having a great time with both sides of the family. Evan was quiet for a second, then said, I can ask him. He called me back a few minutes later and said Ryan was still there. But if I wanted to come, it was my choice. He said Ryan might leave early anyway, and that he'd just talked to him about not making anything uncomfortable for Noah. I thought about it for a second and decided to go. By the time I pulled into their street, Evan called me again. Ryan and his girlfriend had just left. He didn't sound mad. More like disappointed. Ryan got tense the moment he heard I was coming back. Told him he was taking off and didn't want to deal with it. Evan tried convincing him to stay. Reminded him Noah was excited he came. That he could just avoid me and let the kid enjoy the rest of his day. But Ryan said he didn't come there to play some game of dodging me like we're strangers. So they left. I parked anyway. Evan met me outside. He didn't yell, but I could tell he was frustrated. He said he didn't expect Ryan to bail like that. Said no one noticed and kept asking where they went. He and his wife told him something came up and Ryan had to leave early. Noah didn't seem upset, just confused. But the moment felt ruined, I guess. It wasn't supposed to end like that. Inside, the mood had shifted. A few of Evan's in-laws were giving me side glances, trying not to make it obvious. One of them actually asked Evan's wife in the kitchen, loud enough for me to hear, was that worth it? I didn't say anything. I helped put food away, thanked them for having me, and then left again after about 30 minutes. Now I'm getting the fallout. Ryan texted Evan a long message later that night. He said he felt ambushed. Said Evan should have had his back more and not let me come back. That it was his call to decide if we spoke, not anyone else's. Evan showed me the message because he didn't want to hide it. He said he understood both sides, but felt like he was stuck in the middle. I won't lie, that part pissed me off. Evan's stuck in the middle. What about me? I'm the one who's been left out of everything for over a year. Birthdays, holidays, dinners. I'm the one watching my family split itself in half to manage my presence like I'm some burden. Meanwhile, Ryan gets to drop in, say who can be there, and leave if it doesn't go his way. He got someone pregnant again, and instead of stepping up like an adult, he's making sure everyone cuts me out before the baby's even here. I'm not dangerous. I'm not vindictive. I've made mistakes, sure, but nothing worth being erased like this. I didn't lie to him. I didn't ask his ex to cheat. I didn't raise her. I was told something, and I didn't repeat it fast enough. And for that, I'm now banned from birthdays and baby showers. Even my sister, who I don't always get along with, told me last month that Ryan was always looking for a reason to be mad at me. That he's still carrying things from when he was a teenager. That maybe this whole thing just gave him an excuse. And maybe she's not wrong. There's been tension since he was about 19. He moved out that year and got upset that I wouldn't co-sign for a car loan. Said I never supported him. Never mind that I let him live at home rent-free for 2 years after graduation and paid for his community college. Then he brought up how I treated Evan better. That one came out of nowhere. Truth is, Evan and Ryan were never that close. They're 6 years apart and completely different people. Evan got married young, had a stable job by 25, and bought a house early. Ryan's still figuring things out. Nothing wrong with that, but he's always taken Evan's success personally, like it's some silent judgment on him. So when this whole cheating paternity thing blew up, and he found out Evan didn't know anything, but I supposedly knew and said nothing, he latched onto that like it proved I loved one son more than the other. Now he uses it to justify this Cold War we're stuck in. I've tried apologizing not just for what I didn't say, but for how it made him feel. I've sent messages through Evan. I even offered once to meet with a mediator. Nothing. Then I hear about this new baby. And yeah, maybe I got emotional. Maybe I got desperate. Maybe I wanted to show him I'm still trying. But I didn't crash the party. I came back because I thought maybe there was a window. Evan said it was okay. I assumed Ryan would act like the adult everyone keeps claiming he is. Instead, he stormed out, took his girlfriend with him, and now says I ruined his nephew's birthday just by breathing the same air. I'm tired of being treated like some virus that needs to be quarantined at every family event. Tired of hearing people say they understand where he's coming from, when no one stops to ask if I'm allowed to be upset too. I raised that boy alone. His father disappeared when Ryan was 14 and didn't even show up to his high school graduation. I was the one who worked double shifts to keep us afloat. I wasn't perfect, but I never turned my back on him. Until now, apparently, when he turned his back on me and got everyone else to follow. So yeah, I went back to the party. And yeah, he left. I'm sure Reddit will say I should have just stayed away. That I should have waited for some formal invitation to speak to my own son again. But I'm tired of waiting for his permission to exist in the same space. Evan says Ryan might not come to Thanksgiving now if I'm going. Same for Christmas. Said Ryan told him I clearly haven't learned anything. I don't even know what that means anymore. I'm not trying to start more drama. I'm trying to be part of this family again. I'm trying to be there for my grandchild before I miss out on even more. But now I'm being told I ruined a child's birthday party because I came back with permission and my son chose to leave. So, Aita comments. Lady, you got info that could have changed this guy's entire life and just sat on it because you didn't want to get involved. You watched him get attached to a kid that wasn't his, knowing full well there was a chance he was being lied to. That's not neutrality, that's complicity. You say you thought she told him fine, but you didn't ask, didn't double check, and didn't care enough to follow up. That tells me a lot. And this party. You knew the setup. You agreed to leave early. Then you turned right back around and made it about your need to fix things your way. Doesn't matter if Evan said okay. Ryan made his boundary. Yeah, I know, banned word. And you stomped right over it. He's not holding a grudge over nothing, he's protecting himself. From the sound of it, you've been picking and choosing when to act like a mum for a while now. He finally got sick of it. Verdict. YTA. Comment 2. The pain's real, no doubt. A son shutting you out and turning into a stranger hurts in a way most people don't talk about. But grief over that loss doesn't erase the fact that he felt betrayed, and honestly, he had reason. You made a judgment call to stay silent about something massive, and that choice cost him months of attachment to a child who wasn't his. He's angry, and grief for him probably looks like rage and shutting down. The part that stands out, though, is how you framed going back to the party. It wasn't about Noah, it was about finally being heard on your terms. You didn't get the resolution you wanted, so you forced an opening on a day that wasn't yours to take. Evan got boxed into being the gatekeeper, and the kid got a birthday cut short over a standoff that's been simmering for years. Love doesn't always show up as effort, sometimes it shows up as restraint. You weren't wrong to want connection, but trying to get it through pressure and guilt won't get you what you're hoping for. Comment 3. What got overlooked in all this was Noah. The poor kid had no clue about any of this history and no say in the politics. Yet his birthday got wrapped in emotional fallout that wasn't his to carry. He probably went to sleep wondering what he did wrong or why his new uncle left halfway through his party. That kind of stuff sticks. This wasn't the time or place to take a shot at reconnecting. The fact that you were even calculating whether Ryan would leave so you could, maybe have a word, shows you knew it would throw things off. The family already had a system in place to avoid this kind of mess. If you'd stuck to it, the day could have gone smoothly for everyone. You weren't being kicked out of your family. You were being asked to wait for a moment that didn't trample someone else's celebration. You missed that window by turning the spotlight back onto old hurt. Nobody's saying Ryan handled everything perfectly either. But you're the parent here. Even when the kids are grown, sometimes it falls on us to be the one who holds steady instead of shaking the table. Update. Since people are already acting like I showed up with a flamethrower, I'll clarify what they didn't know and say the things I chose not to share in the first post out of decency. But since I'm being painted as some obsessed mother who doesn't know when to quit, fine. I'll spell it out. Let's talk about why I really didn't tell Ryan that his ex cheated on him. Everyone assumes it was just cowardice or laziness. Wrong. I stayed out of it for a reason. I knew what she had done. I knew she cheated. She told me crying, apologizing, swearing it was a mistake. I didn't like her, but I believed she felt bad. I told her to tell him. She begged me to give her time. I gave it. Then she started showing up at my house. Said Ryan was under a lot of stress and that she needed someone to talk to. She played it smart, talked about how she wanted to be better, asked me for motherly advice, and called me the only person she trusted. I didn't push her to confess because, honestly, I thought she'd already done it behind closed doors, and they were working through it. And yes, I liked being needed. It was the same reason I didn't rat her out when she disappeared with the baby later. She left Ryan, met some guy online, and ran off. Everyone freaked out. Ryan thought something happened. I was the only one who knew she'd found someone new and took the baby with her, and I kept quiet. I told myself it wasn't my problem, but really, I didn't want to be the one to bring that chaos into the open. I told myself I was protecting Ryan's peace. What I was really protecting was distance. The less I said, the less I had to be involved. But Ryan didn't see it like that. He saw betrayal. Fine. He cut me off. No warning, no conversation. Just done. And now everyone wants me to sit quietly while they act like I'm the problem. I used to have doubts after the birthday party. I thought maybe I had overstepped. I told myself it was Noah's day, and I should have just let it be. But then the way everyone reacted afterwards, the coldness, the fake neutrality, the little jabs made it clear I was never going to be treated fairly again. So no, I'm not sorry anymore. I'm not backing down. Let's talk about Noah, actually. He's a nice kid, polite. But I'm tired of everyone pretending he's my grandson. He's not. I didn't raise Evan to be a stepdad. I raised him to be a father, and he doesn't even have his own children. That's his burden to work through, not mine to pretend about. I show up. I bring gifts. I say the right words. But no, I don't feel the same way about Noah as I do about my real grandchildren. That's not cruelty. It's just honesty. A few weeks ago, Evan's wife mentioned that they were planning a baptism ceremony for the baby Ryan and his girlfriend had. I wasn't invited. I didn't even find out properly. I heard about it through one of Evan's cousins. They kept the ceremony small. Only her side of the family, a handful of close friends, and Evan and his wife were there. That day, I sat alone in my living room with a gift bag I had already prepared. Inside was a photo I'd had generated by AI, because I don't have a real picture of me holding the baby. I framed it. I printed it. I placed it next to a little stuffed bear in what used to be Ryan's old bedroom. I turned that room into a nursery, in case one day the door opened again. People can call that crazy if they want. But I call it hope. You'd be surprised how many friends said it was beautiful. I even sent a photo to Evan's wife. She ignored it. Then Evan called. Told me I needed to stop referring to the baby as my grandchild like I had a right to him. Told me I was making things worse. I reminded him that I was the one who raised both boys while their father slept around, and I didn't run away from my kids like Ryan's girlfriend did when she left with that baby months ago. I said, at least I stayed. And let's not forget, Evan knows full well why Ryan is the way he is. Their entire childhood, Ryan was the one I had to worry about. Always emotional, always needing more reassurance, always jealous of Evan's quiet success. He hated that Evan had his own car by 22 and a mortgage by 27. When I refused to co-sign a loan for Ryan, he said I loved Evan more. When he dropped out of community college, it was somehow my fault for not pushing him harder. People keep saying I need to reflect. I have. I reflect all the time. I've even written letters to the baby. Not to Ryan, to the child. For someday. In case they ever ask about their grandmother. I keep them in a folder labeled, for the future. Evan found one once by accident and told me I was trying to rewrite the past. I told him I'm preparing for when the truth finally has a chance to be heard. I've also started keeping track of conversations. Not secretly, just for my own memory. I don't trust how people twist words anymore. Evan once said, Noah's birthday matters just as much as any other kid's. I reminded him that I never got this level of celebration for Ryan or Evan when they turned 11. Balloons, party planners, bounce house. For a child you didn't raise from birth? I told him straight, you're overcompensating. He didn't like that. Said if I couldn't treat Noah like family, I didn't need to come around at all. I told him maybe he should focus more on having a family instead of borrowing someone else's. I know that sounded harsh, but I meant it. He wants credit for being a parent, but he hasn't had to deal with the pain of losing a child the way I have, not death, but absence. Ryan erased me. And now Evan expects me to play loving grandma to a kid I barely know while being shut out of the real milestones that belong to my blood. Then there's the baby shower gift. I sent something through Evan's wife. A beautiful quilt I had made it, hand-stitched with our family initials. It was folded with a note tucked in. Nothing bitter. Just a simple message. You came from a long line of strong people. Some of us are waiting to meet you. Ryan sent it back through Evan. No note. Just folded neatly, returned in silence. I told Evan. He's had his time. I've apologized. I've waited. Now he's just being cruel. Evan didn't argue. I've stopped calling. Stopped texting. I've made peace with it in a way. But I've also started organizing old photos, letters, and memories. I want to preserve them. Not for Ryan. For the grandchild I'll probably never meet. Because no matter what they say now, one day that child is going to ask questions. And I'll be ready. So here's my update. No, I'm not apologizing anymore. I'm not pretending Noah is my grandson. I'm not going to smile through being erased. I've done enough waiting, enough begging, Enough walking around pretending my own son didn't turn his back when things got complicated. He wants to paint me out of the picture. Fine. But don't be surprised when I start drawing the frame myself. Go ahead. Tell me again how I'm the problem. But I've got a nursery upstairs, a stack of letters, and a name written in permanent ink. Someday, that's going to mean something. Comments. Comment 1. You keep clinging to this idea of being the wounded party, but everything reads like image management. You didn't tell Ryan about the cheating because it gave you leverage, not power, but proximity. She fed you guilt and played the lost daughter act, and you liked that. Then you hid behind it. Same with the legacy letters. They're not love letters, they're receipts for future sympathy. And the way you framed Evan's stepson. Disgusting. No one forced you to treat him like a grandson. If it bothers you that much, just don't show up. Stop pretending you're being erased. You erased yourself the second you started qualifying which kids were real. That's how generational pain starts. Not from screaming matches or court orders, but quiet, cold choices made in the name of pride. You're not being kept out because people forgot your sacrifices. They just finally stopped letting you keep score. Comment 2. He built a life, trusted someone, and embraced fatherhood. Then had it ripped away, and while all of that was happening, the person who should have warned him was entertaining the liar like she was a guest of honor. That doesn't go away with time or gifts. You keep making this about how long you've suffered and how isolated you've felt, but haven't once seriously acknowledged what he lost. His silence isn't punishment, it's grief without a place to land. You talk about rewriting the story for his kid one day, but what you're really doing is preserving a version where you're the misunderstood matriarch. But the moment that broke this family wasn't when he cut you off. It was when you decided quiet complicity was more comfortable than being the bad guy for 5 minutes. You could have taken the heat, then saved him years of emotional wreckage. But you didn't. Now you're asking him to help rebuild the trust you buried. Comment 3. What jumps out most isn't even the Ryan stuff, it's how you talk about Evan's stepson. You're performing love like it's a chore. Every sentence about that kid has this bitterness tucked under it, like he's occupying space that was supposed to be reserved for someone else. You're not being honest, you're being petty. That boy didn't ask for you to fake grandparent him. You say Evan should focus on having a real kid, like it's some punishment that he married someone with a child. Why the hell does blood mean so much to you when your actions towards your actual blood, Ryan, are full of lies, omissions, and weird justifications? You didn't protect Ryan's peace. You protected your comfort. You protected yourself. And now you think you deserve something just for sticking around. You don't love these people, you just want them to orbit you again. The nursery, the AI baby photo, the letters. That's not love. That's performance. It's a shrine to the version of motherhood where you never did anything wrong. Update. Some of you will read this and say I've lost it. I'm fine with that. I don't care about public sympathy anymore. I've lived through worse. I've lived through abandonment before by my husband, by my own mother, and now by a son who I carried, raised, and gave more chances to than he ever deserved. You can strip away everything, but I will not let go of the role I was born into, mother, grandmother. I will hold that title until I die, and if it makes people uncomfortable, they can look the other way. I've accepted that Ryan will never come back on his own. Not as he is. He's surrounded by people who reinforce his decisions, people who want me erased. So I've had to find other ways to make sure I am not forgotten. I planned a small ceremony at my house last month. A blessing. Not a baptism, not some religious claim, just a moment for my connection to my grandchild. I decorated Ryan's old bedroom, laid out candles, and brought in family friends. Some came out of sympathy, others out of curiosity. I framed the AI photo I generated of the baby. I stood there and read a passage. I wrote, "To the child I've never met, you are of me, even if they keep us apart." I played soft music. A few people teared up. Evan didn't show. A few days later, he called. Said the event was weird and inappropriate, and asked me not to use the baby's name anymore in public. Ryan said he saw pictures one of the cousins posted and was furious. I told Evan, word for word, if I can't attend the real milestones, I'll create my own. I have the right to honor my place in this family. I followed up by writing a letter. Not to Ryan, to the family. Titled it What Family Means to Me. I printed copies and handed them out at Thanksgiving. I kept it measured but made my point. That family isn't about who you marry or who you have photos with. It's about blood, commitment, sacrifice. A few people rolled their eyes. Evan's wife left halfway through the meal. Ryan, of course, didn't come. That was expected. Then came the grocery store incident. I saw Ryan's girlfriend's sister browsing through baby clothes at the local store. I approached her politely and said, "I hope he's being a good dad." She tensed up. I tried asking how the baby was. She said they weren't sharing that information. I told her I understood, but I hope the child is being taught the full story. She walked away. I didn't chase her. I went home. Apparently, she told Ryan everything. He called Evan. Evan called me. Said if I approached anyone else from her side again, they'd involve legal counsel. I laughed. Told him I had more right to speak to that girl than she ever had being in our family to begin with. In my frustration, I did something I thought might help. I called my insurance provider. I asked what it would take to add a dependent. A grandchild. I knew the baby wasn't on Ryan's plan. He's not stable enough for that. They said I'd need proof of legal guardianship or residence. I didn't have either. I didn't push. I just wanted to feel like I was doing something a real grandmother would do. Evan found out probably from his wife, who still has family connections in that office. He told me if I ever tried something like that again, they'd consider it harassment. I stepped back for a few weeks. But I couldn't stop thinking about Ryan's past. His ex cheated, yes. But even now, I still question how easily he fell into fatherhood again. No hesitation, no testing, no timeline. Just instant commitment. So, I spoke to an old friend, someone Ryan grew up around. I floated the idea. Do you ever think maybe this baby isn't his either? It wasn't a statement. Just a question. Turns out it didn't stay a question. She told someone. It got back to Ryan. Evan called me at 11 p.m., said I was disgusting. Said Ryan had done everything right this time: DNA, paperwork, planning. I told Evan, if he had done everything right, he wouldn't be hiding his child from his own mother. I meant it. Things got worse with the toddler too. There's a local mum in my neighborhood, 30, single, sweet kid. I offered to watch him once when she was late picking him up from a daycare we both passed by. We got friendly. I started dropping by with toys, bringing cookies, and calling myself Grandma Leela. The boy reminded me of how Ryan used to be. Big eyes, quiet, curious. I posted a picture once. Nothing public. Just on a private account I use for close friends. Evan saw it. Called me in a rage. Said I was using someone's child to cosplay a grandparent. He contacted the mum directly. Told her everything. She blocked me. I haven't seen the child since. So, I tried something else. I created a new email. Not malicious. Just softer. A clean way to reach Ryan's girlfriend. I sent articles about parenting, nutrition, and development. I attached quotes from books I read to soothe my own anxiety. I signed them, "A Friend Who Cares." I sent 6 emails in total, over 3 weeks. The last one included a link to a blog post about estranged mothers and forgiveness. I figured maybe she'd take the hint. She didn't. Evan called again and said I was unwell. Said she knew it was me. Said she was considering a restraining order. I told him I was done apologizing. He said, "You're not apologizing. You're documenting your breakdown and calling it love." So I recorded a video. 30 minutes. Clean lighting. Direct to camera. I spoke to the child. I told them about our family, about my own mother, and about Ryan's birth. I showed photos and told stories. I cried. I didn't insult anyone, not directly. Just told my truth. I ended it with one line. Even if we never meet, I'll never stop being your grandmother. I saved it to a flash drive. Gave it to Evan in a sealed envelope. Told him, you don't have to do anything with it. Just hold it. For someday. He left it on my porch the next morning. So here I am, writing again. No access to my son. No access to my grandchild. Evan barely speaks to me now unless it's to pass along a warning. The family avoids me. I've been labeled obsessive, delusional, dangerous. All because I refuse to accept being shut out like a stranger. I wasn't perfect as a mother. I've said that before. But I never walked away. I never stopped trying. Even now, I'm still trying. And I will until my last breath. If that baby ever asks about me, I want the answer to be, she never gave up. So Reddit, aita for doing what I can with what I have, even if everyone else has moved on. You tell me. Comments. Comment 1. You've convinced yourself you're preserving a legacy, but all you're really doing is building a museum to your own victimhood. That ceremony in your house. That wasn't love, that was a stage. You didn't want to bless the baby. You wanted an audience to witness your hurt. That video you recorded. Same thing. You weren't speaking to your grandchild, you were narrating your version of events, hoping one day you'd be the misunderstood martyr in someone else's story. Everything is about how much you gave and how much you were hurt. You haven't once asked yourself why both your sons are pulling away, even the one who still talks to you barely tolerates it. You call people who married into the family outsiders, act like biology is a pass to do whatever you want, and weaponize sentimentality. That isn't connection. It's entitlement dressed up as devotion. Ryan didn't cut you out. He put up a wall after watching you side with his ex, rewrite history, and refused to sit with any discomfort that didn't serve your narrative. Comment 2. You've built this whole myth around being the one who never walked away. But staying isn't the same thing as showing up. You stayed in the room, sure, but you made it toxic for anyone else to breathe in. That nursery you built, not for the baby, that's for you. A prop. The AI photo, the fake ceremony, the flash drive, all of it screams performance. You keep using symbolic gestures like they cancel out the fact that you violated basic decency. You made up a fake email to harass a new mother. You suggested your own son's child might not be his again. You even used another person's toddler to scratch your emotional itch. And when called out, blamed everyone but yourself. You didn't lose your family in one blow, you chipped away at their trust, year after year. And now you're stunned, no one's handing you the mic. The people around you don't see love in what you're doing, they see obsession. And honestly, it's exhausting to watch someone dig this deep into self-pity and still think they're the one being erased. Comment 3. If this kid ever does grow up and hear about you, it's not going to be the fairy tale version you've been rehearsing in those legacy videos. They'll hear that you spread rumors about them, not being your son's child. They'll hear you pretended to be a stranger online just to insert yourself into their mom's inbox. You say you're doing this for the child, but everything is filtered through how you look, how you'll be remembered, and how you'll be justified. No kid wants to be the centerpiece in a tug of war about adult resentment. They want peace, safety, and real love, not staged grief and family politics. Honestly, if I were Ryan, I'd keep my kid as far from this mess as possible. You weren't cut out of their lives because they're cruel. You were shut out because your idea of love feels like a trap. Every gift, every letter, every blessing is a loaded weapon. That baby doesn't need your legacy. They need parents who don't have to clean up after yours. Second story. My entitled wife believes her new friend group, claims I don't need playtime with my son, lets her friends humiliate me, and demands that I sleep outside. Now she has threatened kidnapping for taking my son on a playdate, so I divorced her. Now she wants to reconcile. My wife and I have a 2-year-old. I work Sunday, Thursday, yes, I'm at work right now. 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. She works Thursday, Sunday, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. So we make it work. Here's the problem. When I get off work, I like to spend time with my child. I also like to spend time with my child on my days off. Frequently, I will be with our son, and my wife will say they are leaving to go on a playdate with one of her friends. Or I will get home, and they are already gone. I tried to have a conversation with my wife about the playdates. I asked if we could put them in the calendar, so I know when they are, and maybe carve some specific slots out just for me and our son. I feel like we are being deprived of quality time. She asked why we aren't spending time together while she is at work. I said because his bedtime is at 7. She said that gives us 2 hours. But that's when I get him ready for bed. She said, is that not quality time? I said I really want time set aside for me and our son. She said sometimes playdates get scheduled at the last second. I said it's okay to tell her friends no, that we're busy. She said she doesn't need my permission to take our son on a playdate. I said that's not what I said, and she said no, but that I'm saying it without saying it. She also said that playdates are good for our son, and he gets fresh air and socialization, and that all I want to do is sit on the couch with him and watch cartoons and call it bonding. She did the finger quotes. This is not true. On my days off, I want to take our son places and do things, but I can't, because she has already claimed that time. We can only do things if we do them early in the morning, while she is asleep, which we do. But she doesn't see that and doesn't acknowledge it. Yes, when I have been working all day, sometimes I want to watch my favorite childhood cartoons with my son for maybe an hour. Is that terrible? We're basically stuck. We both think the other is being insanely unreasonable. I want us to talk and figure out a good schedule together. She thinks I'm being controlling. She messaged her friend group chat and sent me screenshots of all her friends saying I'm wrong. I can't do that because I don't want to talk about a fight with my wife to my friends. So what do you guys think? Update. Since so many of you said I was being too passive, I made a calendar and blocked out Friday. I sent it to her and told her I was taking our son to my friend's house to meet his animals. She said no, because there will probably be a playdate. I told her he will have to miss the playdate. She stopped responding for a bit, and then sent me screenshots of her friend group chat where they all say I'm a jackass. And one even said she should just call the police and report him as kidnapped. I said, "Don't you think friend's name is being a little insane?" She responded, "Just please stop trying to control what I do. You have son's name when I'm at work. You don't need to have him all day. When you get to friend's name's house, you're just going to sit around and watch TV." I said we're going to meet his animals, and that's the plan, and it's happening. She stopped responding. I assume she's back in the group chat. I also sent her a screenshot of one of the comments here, and she said I was being immature posting online. But her posting to the group chat is very mature, I guess. Comments. Comment 1. The way you all communicate is not normal. I'd start there. Comment 2. They might communicate better as a divorced couple with a custody schedule at this point. Comment 3. It seems like they already fight about physical custody of their son. Why can't dad have all Fridays with his son if he wants? Because of a currently non-existent playdate. The wife sounds like a nasty piece of work. At least if he were divorced, the family court would back him up in getting a certain amount of time with his son. She could schedule the all-important playdates on her time. Oh, and if you're married, one spouse taking the child somewhere without the other spouse's permission is not kidnapping. Some real bright ones on that group chat. Comment 4. My ex was like OP's wife. I wasn't allowed to spend time with my son without it causing huge strife. He was fine with me spending time with him while he worked, but it was more like he was treating me as a nanny than as my son's mother. By the time I left him, my son was old enough to recognize what was happening, and it messed him up. He would want to spend time with me, but then he'd feel guilty about it because it hurt his daddy's feelings. It was jealousy and control, full stop. My son eventually gravitated towards me more than my ex, and one night it came to a head. My son was wanting to color with me, and my ex spat out, "What the F lies have you been telling him about me? I used to be the favorite parent." It was so toxic and so bizarre, and it was very much a symptom of a bigger problem. I'm sure if OP were to look at his relationship, there'd be other issues where his spouse has to be the one in control, or the one who is right, or something where she's better than OP in her mind. In healthy relationships, you both do things separately with the kids, so you're both getting quality relationship building time. And so you're both getting some child-free time to yourselves. And you definitely don't gang up on your partner like that with your group chat. It's disrespectful AF. Comment 6. Why aren't you guys doing things as a family, the three of you, sometimes? OP, I wish we did more. But she's always with her friends. I try to get her to do things as a trio, and she very rarely agrees. Maybe once or twice a month. And what does she do the whole time? Text her friends. Comment 7. Not sure. Have you tried putting a playdate for you and your kid on the calendar so your wife can look and see when you'd like to have a slot? OP. She refused the suggestion of the calendar, but I'm just going to do it anyway. I'm making one right now and I'm going to send it to her. Update. So I initially posted this morning at work about how I tried to talk to my wife about our kid's schedule. She said I was telling her to ask permission to take him on playdates. I just wanted us to decide together as a couple, so I can spend more time with our son. She didn't like that. Most of the responses were really nasty. A lot of people didn't believe the situation or didn't even understand it. At first I was incredibly frustrated. Then I realized the fact that so many people don't even believe this is happening proves how abnormal it is. Several people told me to just make a calendar and send it to her, which I did. Her reaction was very negative. A lot of people also said to just go pick him up from the playdate when I get off work. So I did. When I got to the park, it was empty. This was reasonable because it's freezing outside. I went into the cafe. My wife was sitting at a table with her friends, drinking coffee. The kids, including our son, were sitting on the floor playing on tablets. Our son doesn't have a tablet, so it must have been a spare from one of the other kids. I said hello, and my wife had an immediate negative reaction. Her whole body got tense. Her face tightened up. She asked why I was there. I said I came to get our son so we can go home and spend some time together. She said he's on a playdate. I picked him up and took the tablet away, setting it on the table. She got defensive about the tablet, even though I hadn't said anything about it yet. She said it's cold outside. I said, yeah, I know I said we were going to go, but to have fun with her friends. She told me to stop and said I was humiliating her. I said I would see her at home. When I got home, my son and I spent some time together. We watched one episode of our favorite cartoon, and then we played make-believe with his toys. We made dinner together, and were eating when my wife came home to get ready for work. She said I embarrassed her in front of her friends and accused me of trying to destroy her support network. I said she accuses me of always wanting to watch TV with our kid, but she had him just sitting on the ground with a tablet. How is that better than watching one episode of a cartoon he and I both like? She said it's because his friends were there. She also kept yelling over and over that it was cold outside, which freaked out our son. She said, "Look what you did," even though she was the one yelling. I took him to the bathroom and bathed him. She had already left for work when we were done. I read to him from his storybook, and he went to bed. He's been asleep for an hour and a half. Since my wife gets off work in a couple of hours, I've just been replaying everything that happened in my mind over and over again. I know she's going to be mad when she gets home. I don't want to fight again. But I have a feeling we are going to fight again. Update. When my wife came home last night, I told her I want counseling. She said no. I told her we can't go on like this, that it isn't fair to our son. She told me I need to work more and leave the parenting to her, because she is the mom. She said if I did my job as a provider, we wouldn't be in the situation we are in. I said that is never going to happen. I said I already work a lot and am not going to do more. If she wants the relationship to improve, we need counseling, because what she thinks is going to make her happy is never going to happen. So we need to work together to find another solution. She said no again. I asked what she wants to do to work on our marriage. She said she wants me to stop being like this. I asked what she is willing to do for our marriage, or if it is only me that needs to change. She said it's me. I said, then let's get divorced, because neither of us is making the other happy. She said yes. She then wanted me to get out of bed and relocate to the guest room. I said no. She told me I had to. I admit I was a bit of a jerk. I made fun of her and asked if this is different from what her friends said would happen. She started to cry and asked why I was making this difficult. I said I wasn't. She got in bed, and we went to sleep. As I was leaving for work this morning, she came out of our room and said she would do the counseling if I moved out of the house. I said no. She said she'll do it if I move to the guest bedroom. I said no. She said it's customary for the wife to stay and the husband to leave. I told her divorce is whatever the people doing it make it, and her friends lied to her. She said not to talk about her friends like that. I said I could say way worse about her friends, but I have to go to work. She said she would go to the counseling, so I can see how wrong I am. I called my insurance half an hour ago, and they emailed me a list of people they cover. I'm working my way down the list now. Comments. Comment 1. You need couples therapy. If you're fighting like this in public, you're really messing your kid up at home. Don't kid yourself that your kid doesn't hear you fight, or some other BS. Comment 2. I am starting to wonder if the wife is territorial about the playdates, because it's really her excuse to hang out with her new friends. And perhaps she fears she won't be invited unless her son accompanies her. Comment 3. Mum groups like that usually require a child. Comment 4. Not sure why, since they all dumped their kids in front of a screen each. OP should just tell her she sorts herself out, or he's divorcing her and going for 50/50 custody. She is acting like she makes all the rules here and needs to realize she doesn't. Marriage is a partnership, or what's the point? Comment 5. I'm the person who asked on your other post about what her friends are like. This update does not settle my concerns about the friends at all. I attended quite a few playdate groups when my kids were small. Once when my second child was a month or two old, my first was staying with the grandparents for the night. My friends said there was a playdate. I said that older child wasn't around. They said, no problem, come with just baby. We still want to see you. There were also mums in the playgroups who shared custody with exes. We always told them to just come and drink coffee without the kids if they were looking for something to do when the kids were with their dad. Real friends want to see you regardless of if your kid is there or not. Real friends cheer for you to get an hour to socialize without the kids in tow. And really real friends encourage you to communicate with your spouse. Comment 6. Dude, your wife hates you. Just get a divorce already. Comment 7. Honestly, you might not be far off from the truth. He said she got tense when he showed up. So for whatever reason, she wasn't happy to see him. I'd be happy if my husband showed up to take the kids off my hands when I'm chatting with my friends. My kids are older now, but when they were younger, I always enjoyed it when my husband took over the childcare. Comment 8. I wonder if she is constantly SHTing on OP for being an absent father to her support network, and him showing up to spend time with their son might have cracked some truthful light on her dishonesty to her friends. This is pure conjecture, of course, but not out of the question. OP, I kind of wonder the same thing. She sends me screenshots of stuff they say about me. It can get pretty vile. I have to wonder what she told them to make them feel that way about me. Comment 9. Sorry, but I don't think she loves or even likes you. Comment 10. Bro, why is she sending you screenshots of SHT talking about you to her friends? Dude, that's effing mean. No, you know what? That's evil. Listen, my husband gets on my effing nerves, but I would never think to SHT talk about him and then send him screenshots just of people's responses to him. Like, that's next level. I really hate you, and I want others to too. Why would you even entertain that conversation at all? Just FOP. Get your own help and get away from her. OP. She does it to win arguments. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.